Today in gun news on this Tuesday, February 27th, I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out with me each and every weekday morning. The Bishop on Air. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air, and we can connect that way. Today in gun news, a lot to tackle. Of course, you've got the ongoing litigation in Illinois, where Judge Stephen McGlynn's going to have a scheduling conference with plaintiffs' attorneys starting tomorrow, and they're going to be talking about the evidence and all of the different witnesses that they may bring forward. And we talked a lot yesterday. If you didn't miss that, if you missed that segment, go check it out on my channel. But we essentially read through all of Judge Stephen McGlynn's order that spells out the questions that he wants the plaintiffs and the defense to, essentially spell out when it comes to the challenge against the gun and magazine ban on the issue of the Second Amendment. Now, we also have the ongoing questions of the Fifth Amendment, which we also read yesterday, the state's response to that Fifth Amendment challenge, and something I think is interesting to read, the back and forth between the plaintiffs and the defense in that Southern District case on the Fifth Amendment challenge. But Judge Stephen McGlynn saying, hey, we're moving forward with the Second Amendment challenge on the merits. And obviously, it's going to be a lot to take in the next few months as those proceedings take place. But tomorrow is that scheduling conference in Illinois challenging the state's gun and magazine ban. No update on the number of firearm registrations with the state of Illinois State Police. They have the page where you've got the number of registrations before the deadline, and then, of course, the number of registrations after the deadline. Here we are at the end of February, and we still don't have an update from the January 31st updates with that full month after the deadline of people registering firearms. So clearly there's an ongoing question of how many people are complying with the registry, especially with the caveat of they have not updated those FOID card numbers. Those have been static at 2.4 million. So we haven't seen any of the updates on the FOID card registration numbers. So regardless, a lot going on in Illinois, but there's also tons going on across the country. We did not get to this on Monday just because we were tackling all of the other things going on in the Southern District of Illinois court. But in New York, a lot of hay being made out of the NRA and Wayne LaPierre being found guilty on corruption and self-dealing. New York Attorney General Letitia James boasting about this on Friday, talking about how after years of corruption, self-dealing, Wayne LaPierre and the NRA finally being held accountable and saying that no one is above the law. So it's an interesting kind of thing the media does here, and maybe even those who advocate for more strict gun control, they don't like the NRA, and they see this as a big victory in what they claim is holding the gun lobby accountable. So does this diminish all of the other organizations that are out there? All the other organizations that, like FPC, the Second Amendment Foundation, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the National Association for Gun Rights. I mean, these are all different, separate, independent entities that aim to, secure Second Amendment rights. So the NRA is just one. But we'll obviously see a lot of people make hay out of the NRA's Wayne LaPierre being found guilty. And even Everytown, the gun control lobby, they say that, quoting Nick Saplina, saying that we're 2 months into 2024, and the NRA has already managed to lose this trial, lose longtime leader, and whatever political relevance it had left. Again, maybe that's true for the NRA. I would imagine they're still a pretty big organization. They just had the former president, Donald Trump, speak at their recent convention. So clearly, I think that there's still some relevance there for the NRA. But a lot of people making, a lot of headlines out of that. So clearly, that's something I think is rather fascinating just to highlight. Meanwhile, we've got some legal updates from FPC, the Firearms Policy Coalition. They are highlighting how they've got the lawsuits printer working overtime. Here's a post they made, including a case out of Cook County challenging the, quote, assault weapons ban. So they have responded to the court's order to show cause in Cook County for a separate case. What is that? Viramontes versus Cook County. That's in Illinois, but they've also got some challenges across the country. New Mexico, they've got a challenge against some carry ban limitations. In New York City, they've got a challenge on a gun ban, a stun gun ban that FPC is involved in, and then they've got Christian v. Chumento, New York public carry ban lawsuit. So clearly there's a lot of litigation. This is just a small sampling of all of the litigation that there is across the country, but obviously FPC being integral in a lot of that. But the courts are one thing, but what about in legislatures across the country? You've got the National Association for Gun Rights talking about what's happening in Louisiana, where they could become the 28th state to embrace constitutional carry. So that is legislation down in Louisiana that's moving forward. So while some states are looking to curb gun rights, you've got states like Louisiana looking to join with 27 other states to have constitutional carry, which essentially means your right to carry a firearm is the Second Amendment, and you don't need a permit to carry a firearm. That's what constitutional carry essentially boils down to. So Louisiana inching closer to getting that done. Interesting to see where that ultimately lands in the legislature in Louisiana. Meanwhile, some other things going on. Here is gun control advocates, Mom Demand Action. They're spelling out things that they're seeing with their volunteers across the country. They say this week our volunteers gathered at state houses in Idaho, Georgia, Nebraska, Wyoming, and West Virginia to push back against gun bills that would endanger their schools and communities and to support proposed legislation that will strengthen their state's gun laws. So they say that in Georgia, volunteers urged lawmakers to consider critical legislation requiring secure storage of guns in cars. Vital legislation giving them at least one gun is stolen for every 15 minutes in the U.S. So they're wanting to push back against gun thieves by saying, hey, if somebody breaks into a car, then the car, if it has a gun in there, it needs to be properly stored. How that is going to help the situation, I guess we shall see. Moving on, you've got in Nebraska, gun control advocates with Moms Demand Action saying that volunteers are urging lawmakers to say no to a reckless bill that they say would repeal the state's critical background check requirement for unlicensed purchases of handguns, effectively removing all of the state's checks from keeping guns out of dangerous hands. While there's background checks in the federal system, so the federal system clearly has background checks that everybody has to go through, whether or not an extra state level check is necessary. Illinois does that with the FOID card, in essence, is that extra check that you have. Moving on, you've got Wyoming. They say that their volunteers urge lawmakers to vote no on bills that would put young people in more danger of gun violence, including forcing guns into schools and colleges and campuses. Is that something that's going to continue forward with the ability for people to, essentially have a firearm on a college campus? Interesting to see that as well. And then they go on in West Virginia. They've got volunteers going to state houses twice in the last week to oppose a dangerous bill they say would require schools to allow teachers, administrators, and support staff to carry concealed firearms with a maximum of 24 hours of training. So again, every town, Moms Demand Action, they have their agenda that they are putting out there, and as far as how to, they see it, control guns. But back to the lawsuits, and again, the live stream still hiccuping. I think I am going to have to, somebody recommended hardwire into the streaming computer, which, yes, I think that's going to have to happen. But courts strike down California ban on billy clubs. That's another story here from the courts that AmmoLand News is highlighting, and that case, you've got, let's see here, let's get the right image. Come on, Bishop. All right, so court strikes down California ban on billy clubs, citing Second Amendment issues. So watch that space as well. Also in court news, you've got California federal judge ruling that the ATF's frame and receivers rule is invalid because the agency didn't consider how easy it might be to convert partially complete AR-15 receivers. So, some people are interpreting this in different ways. Firearm Policy Coalition saying that the ATF was told that the rule is not strict enough in some instances. But you have Giffords, another gun control lobby group, that says they secured a win in the ATF ghost gun case with that statement. But other Second Amendment advocates highlighting that they didn't see that as what the ATF was told to do. So clearly, even when a court makes a decision, there's different types of reactions that there may be on how it's ultimately going to be implemented. All right, so that's just some of today in gun control. I'm your host, Bishop on Air. Appreciate you guys being here and for being patient with the live stream. It's frustrating for me, I get it. But that's why we record the segments locally, so that we can keep you updated even throughout the day. You can double back and check it out. All right, it is Bishop on Air. Thanks for hanging out each and every weekday morning. Plenty more to get to, including some of what the governor had to say yesterday with the issue of his state budget. So stay tuned. That's on the way here with Bishop on Air.